Let's bring in now Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and host of the True Crime Daily podcast. Josh, it's always good to have you on. You and I have talked about this case extensively before. That witness stand and that jury bench still warm from Jennifer's trial. Are you expecting this to be a copy-paste scenario for Dad?
Good morning. By and large, yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of the same evidence. In fact, it's probably going to be even stronger for the prosecution. The prosecution has been allowed by the judge this time to bring in a couple of more witnesses, students who were at the school that day who can add further, shed further light on what it was actually like during the shooting. And also, I think what they'll focus more on is the idea that it was James Crumbley who was the one that purchased the gun. In other words, you have this volatile situation. You have a kid who's experiencing mental health crisis, and he is the one, James Crumbley, that introduced the weapon into that entire equation. And I think that's where they're really going to focus and try to hold him responsible.
And as Kelsey was just reporting, today begins jury selection. This school shooting has gotten so much coverage over the years. Jennifer was just convicted after pointing the finger, to your point, multiple times at James from the stand, telling jurors he was responsible for buying the guns. And not only that, but for securing them or not securing them as well. How do you even begin to find an impartial jury on this one?
It's going to take a little bit more time, but you would be surprised. I've dealt with high-profile cases myself, and people are concerned with their own lives. They've got their own kids. They're worried about sports. They're worried about entertainment news. And you'd be surprised at how many people on a case even of this magnitude and this amount of coverage just seem to know very little about it. And as long as they may know about the case, they may have heard about it, as long as they don't have any preconceived notions or biases that they're bringing into the courtroom, then they'll be eligible. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but I think they'll be able to find an impartial jury.
Yeah, it took Jennifer Crumbley, it took that court 2 days. We'll see if it's the same for Dad here. Now, Ethan Crumbley, lastly, with you here, Ethan Crumbley is not expected to testify and request to exercise his Fifth Amendment right to stay silent. Would testimony from him help his father?
I think it would be huge. I think both Jennifer, his mother, and James, his father, were hoping for that. They're not going to get it because we do know that Ethan afterwards gave interviews where he took entire responsibility and said his parents knew nothing about it, were never involved in the planning, and he did this behind their backs. That kind of testimony would have been game-changing for Jennifer and something I'm sure James was hoping for, but him and his defense team are just going to have to deal without it.
Well, certainly another consequential case that starts to unfold later today. Josh Ritter, thanks so much. It's good to see you, sir.